Welcome to my crib. So I spent the past few weeks redecorating my craft room and it looks the same. But I thought I'd give you a little tour and talk you through like the process. So I decorated it because we have a long lounge with a conservatory on the end with like no doors, so it's just this big open cold space. So Stephen fitted these doors and the door frames. Ignore this. I still need to peel all this plastic off. It's taking a long time. It's the worst job because it's like tucked in, so I've got to scrape it out and get tweezers, and it's this whole thing. So yeah, these are like pine doors which I sanded, wood filled and Danish oiled, and then this frame here was bare wood, so I had to prime that, sand it, undercoat, sand again, gloss, and then could do like another coat of gloss, so they took forever. I like decorating, but I don't like the prep. And the paint here, it looks the same when you look at my old videos, but it's a lot brighter and more vivid in real life. And it looked like bubblegum when it was in the tin, and I was like, oh my God. And then I put it on the walls and realised it's the exact same colour. The only reason it's more vibrant is because this room has no blinds, and obviously it's a conservatory, so it's just like the sun is just constantly bleaching out the paint. So I probably had to redecorate this room like a few times, and because it's an angled conservatory, so you can't just go and like buy blinds. This feels weird, like moving on my videos. The next thing I really want to show you is this shelf. So this shelf was rescued in Lenzie like the day before moving day. I was like, that's a nice shelf. It wasn't nice at the time, but I could see the potential. It had oil stains, holes, it was dirty, it was not painted properly, it was like vintage chic. So I was like, okay, I'm going to rescue it and I'm going to paint it. I picked this green colour because I thought it would go well with the pink. There was an option for like a plum dark purple colour. I was like, oh my God, but I thought that would like ruin like the vibe of the room, and because it's in a conservatory, like there's the grass and the trees, so it matches that as well. When I put it on, I was like, nah, this is boring. And then when I painted it, like the second coat, I just couldn't stop looking at it. It was nice. Like it was on the floor for ages while I was still decorating the walls, and I would just like walk past and be like, that is a nice shelf. And then Stephen put it on the wall, and then I was like, oh, it looks good now because it's got stuff on it. But when we first put it on the wall, we were both like, that's weird. Because like it's above a radiator, so it's a bit weird. But I put all my stuff on and it looks amazing now. And one thing I wanted to do with my makeover was have everything out, like nothing in boxes, nothing hidden away, everything I want to see so I can be really productive. Because last time I had the Kallax boxes, like 4 of them just should with fabric and random stuff, and now my shelves are like completely free, and it just feels nice to walk in and see everything I have. So I don't feel overwhelmed like for the first time since knitting, basically. Thought I'd do like a little show and tell of all my things in here because you might want to see, it might be interesting. I do like seeing other people do videos like this because I like seeing everyone's creative process, all the little cool things they own, like little trinkets and stuff like that. It's just nice. So this is my Sincerely Louise bear that I knit years ago. Again, I didn't really like it. I just had it there because I knit it, but now in this room it really, really works. So this is my sewing machine that I have very childishly put stickers on, but I don't care because it's mine and I can do what I want with it. These are some vintage knitting books I got from a charity shop for £2 each, which I just have them there because they're just nice, big. I guess morph is vintage now too, so this whole little area is kind of fitting. This is some felt that I need to sew into House of Zandra penguin Christmas stuff. It's just nice to touch. This is my Walking Dead jigsaw. I saw it in the charity shop and I wasn't into jigsaws, but I was like, I have to because it's The Walking Dead. This here is Humphrey. This is like my mum's go-to knit, and for years she was making ones for everyone else in the family, and I was like, where's mine? And then she came last year and surprised me with it, and look at its butt. She gave it to me in a restaurant and the waiter was like, what's that? He thought it was a draft excluder, and we were like, it's just a teddy thing. He was like, okay, and then moved on. These are all my threads from sewing over the years. I don't know what to do with them yet, but they're just very nice to look at. And this is my overlocker, which I should have covered with a dust cover. You can't tell, can you? It's very hairy, the thread. And this was a present off Mum. She won it in a competition and she just didn't like it. She's quite old fashioned, she prefers French seams and stuff like that, so she gave it to me and I love it. It just makes everything so much faster. I'll show you the clear shelf. So everything is out. I know everything I have now. I have a few works in progresses out to motivate me to finish them. This crochet blanket, the cardigan that I do not want to finish. So this is all my DK. I saw this decorating as a chance to reorganise my yarn and basically the whole craft room. Before, I would have had visible colours, nothing stacked like this, and then there was a lot of space at the front because of that. But I thought it's organised, so it's okay to be stacked like this, because you know it's all DK and it's okay to get out if it's like this and you know what's in there. It's not like a big bag of what's in this. That's all DK. And you can kind of see the colours anyway. I've tried my best to like colour code it. And this is some 100% made from recycled bottles yarn that I got. This one has fleck in it, so it's not 100% recycled, but the one that doesn't have fleck is 100% recycled. This is my Luna Lappin. I'm not a big fan of the whole Sarah Peel doll thing. I made her and I'm like, oh, I don't get it. Everyone's obsessed with her. This is all my sock yarn. I do like how it's all shoved in, but it's organised. It's like a maze that only I understand. This yarn here I got to make the Steve Zissou hat, and this yarn is for One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. This is like all lacy yarn, and this is sock yarn that I've tried knitting with like 5 times and it's never worked out, so that ball just sits there to taunt me. This is something I got at my first knit and natter because I just like the yarn and I think it's too late to knit it now. I've never used yarn like this, quite intrigued by it. And this is all my super chunky yarn. This dark grey is to make the Sincerely Louise elephant, I've got the right amount of balls. And then the ginger and cream is to make the fox hat again. I've tried many times and my head's big basically. And then this is all my Drops Lima. This is just a giant board of Aran, and I also have it in navy. This I got from my mum, so it knits up flowers like pictures. So this is all variegated. I've had this yarn ever since I learnt to knit, and I can never know what to make with it, so it's always just rolled up again. But I can't get rid of it because like it's the first yarn, like nice yarn I used. This is the bulk buy of yarn. So there we have, that's a little bag of stuffing. I have a giant bin bag upstairs. This is Karen Pantone and it reminded me of the sea, so I'm going to make a moss stitch blanket with that. This I got at a craft fair. It's Hayfield Bonus Tweed Chunky. I made a cardigan with this and it did not go well, so this is the leftovers and I'm also going to pull that cardigan out. Yes, I am. And you've seen this one a few times. It's my big bag of Starcraft DK to make that jumper that I'm not actually going to make. I'm going to make something else entirely. Probably something crochet because knitting garments takes forever. My knitting needles, my crochet hooks. This yarn is for my Stephen West shawl. Then we have my knitting machine. We have this cotton. So I found a vintage pattern for a skirt and jacket and Twiggy was modelling it. So I was like, oh my God, I have to make it. So I just bought like cotton. I didn't look at what crochet hook I needed and I need 2.75 and this is 4. So now I have all this cotton. But it is perfect for the fried egg hat. I'll be able to wear it in summer because it's cotton, breathable. Then I have all this dark grey yarn, which I'm just going to make a hexagon cardigan with. This is my random, this comes in quite handy for toys because it's really variegated, it's lovely. It's got like a little fur to it. So it's great for animals like foxes. I knit my jackdaw with it as well. So even though it's not pretty, I keep it just for random stuff. Oh, and here's more DK. And then these crochet patterns, knitting patterns, sewing patterns, sewing cross-stitch kits, Adians. That was my attempt at trying to do a cribs camera. Kits, more kits. It's all my cross-stitch stuff. This is my box for my knitting journal. This is just random bits of cross-stitch fabric. This is great for like coasters and cards, stuff like that. This is my box of fabric. I'm really excited to use the jelly rolls. I'm going to do a massive quilt with them. Yeah, just fat quarters. That one's so pretty. I want to show you this. My mum made it. It's a sewing mat. It's my favourite thing ever. So you put it on the table and it stops your machine from moving, vibrating, It makes it quieter, and it's also got these little pockets. And this is actually a pinned cushion, so it's padded. I got this really when I was new to sewing, so I was like, what is it? But now it's my favourite thing. I love it so much. So the shelf. For all the true crime fans out there, this is a pen holder of a dead body. Because yes, it was a bit on the expensive side, but how could I not? This is a little vintage tin that I got when I first learnt to sew. My mum gave me it. I was staying at her house and I came down and there was just like a little box of needles, threads, and then this. I was like, oh. My watercolour paints, my ruler for sewing curves, quilting rulers, this cute little box that I've had for I don't know how long. Quite fitting now, isn't it? And then this is a Simon's Cat box that my mum gave me. She turned it into a needle minder, so it's got a magnet in. This is a bowl made of threads using fabric that once you wet it, it turns into glue and basically disappears, and you're left with this. So you just get the fabric and just sew, and it makes a basket. I sewed the bottom like mad so it would be very, very sturdy. This I got at the knitting stitching show, so it's for cross stitch or sewing. So you just wrap your thread around here like a thread keeper, and you keep your needle in there. So cool. And then I got this last year at the knitting stitching show. It's a pin magnet, but it's also a mushroom. As you can see, it's a mushroom. Obviously, it's a mushroom. That is by Emma Cross Ceramics. Lovely. This is a needle case my mum made me just out of the blue. It's lovely. It's like wool felt and it's just lovely. And then I did this for my cross stitch needles. I just put them in a bit of cross stitch fabric, so they're my cross stitch needles, and this is mum's little black heart. When she makes something, she always puts like a little black heart somewhere. Okay, I'm going to show you the first thing I ever knitted because it's amazing. So I learnt to knit 2015, I don't remember. I think I learnt to knit 2016-17, I honestly can't remember. And this was the first thing I ever knitted. Yes, I mean that. I didn't practice a square first. I knitted a square and turned it into this. So it's a little snake with a pipe cleaner in, so you can bend it to whatever shape. It's lumpy and bumpy and there's loose stitches, but I love him so much because it's the first thing I ever made. And if I lost him, I honestly wouldn't know what to do with my life. The thing with knitting toys is you just like, it's a square, it's loads of random shapes. And then like you put a, I'm just going to lean casually and talk about this snake. So it's just a bunch of shapes and rectangles, squares, and then you put a face on it and it's like, oh my God, it's so cute. It's just, I should have used thinner thread and everything. It's just so stupid looking, but I love it. Darning mushroom, but I don't know how to darn yet. This is a vintage box I got off eBay a few days ago. And I thought I could paint more stuff on it. So I could paint houseplants, I could paint a house in the garden outside. I'm thinking that would be really nice. Maybe paint a cup of tea next to her. Yeah, I'm thinking I'm going to decorate this a little bit. Not ruin it, but decorate it a little bit. And it came with this inside. And then this super old used vintage spool. And then this is a box my mum made me. So in my first YouTube videos, I'm like Skeen, Skine, Hank. So she just recreated that and I love it. I also need to Danish oil this because I love Danish oil. This is just a teacup with needle points on the end so my work doesn't fall off my knitting needles. Threads for sewing, my crochet granny squares for my blanket, which I need to actually crochet 3 more. This is a great shop. This Glengoyne here is just full of large knitting needles and rulers, and I keep it in this because back when I lived in Scotland I did an A to Z of Scotland and G was Glengoyne. So I cycled actually to Glengoyne Distillery, bought this whiskey and then cycled home. It was amazing. So this is like really nostalgic for me. It's not very fitting, but I love this, and you can just buy it at a supermarket, but this is my case. A pot of scissors, a stapler, blocking pins, yarn spinner. It's a nice shelf, isn't it? You can see why I saw the potential for it. And then this is another little vintage tin. So like years and years ago, like I was helping my boyfriend's grandma move house and she was gonna get rid of this. I'm like, no, I'll have it. And that's when everyone knew that he had a weird girlfriend picking a tin out of the bin. So this is a little jar. I mean, it's just a jar to you, but our first time for the knit and stitching show, me and Mum bought some coffees and there was like scones. She thought, oh, little afternoon tea, so it came with cream and jam, and they were £5 each. They came in a cardboard box and it was the scruffiest thing ever. You think for the knit and stitching show it'd be like really good food? It was hilarious. It was so scrappy and funny. So we kept our little jam jars, and I've just been putting the thread I use, the yarn I bought at the show that year. Just a little weird nostalgic thing. This is just a ring thing that I bought for £1.50 at a charity shop. I did buy it to put stitch markers on originally, but it doesn't work. This is my pattern for a basic elastic skirt. So it's not really a pattern because I know how to do it already, but these are my measurements. And as you do, I'm just flirting with myself. And then I have all my ink stuff. These are my pattern weights. These are pin blockers again. So these are what I did with my stretchy fabric. I just put rice in them and turned them into pattern weights. And then here's my mirror for when I do sew clothes. It's quite a rare thing for me to sew clothes because sewing is so stressful. But I'm really hoping to not be stressed this year because I've got all my fabric out, I've got my sewing machines there. It's nice and empty, this top one, because I don't want too much in the way. I want to be able to get stuff straight away, like my sewing machine, my overlocker. This week I'm actually going to start my fried egg quilt, and I think that's going to get me in the mood for like sewing, because my friends and family think I'm like an excellent sewer, and I tell them I'm like a basic beginner. They're like, nah. I'm like, yeah, I just sew skirts and trousers. I mean, I guess trousers are quite complex, but to me it's like I keep seeing people on Instagram that have made dresses and all this stuff. I'm like, oh. I also really want to make a quilted jacket, like really want to make that. So in that box down there, there's actually 31 pieces of fabric that are fat quarters that I bought for my 31st birthday because I was going to do a 31 birthday blanket. So it's basically all my favourite things over the years, like holidays, my favourite things, just general stuff. And I'm turning 33 this year and I haven't touched them at all. I keep thinking I should go into them and use them as separate pieces of fabric, but I do think I should do something with them that is me, like all my favourite things. So I'm thinking a quilt jacket would be perfect for that. A bin! This is a Sincerely Louise coaster that I made. It's currently holding the internet. This is my Sincerely Louise whale. I like her a lot. This is the armchair I sit in and do my videos. These are all my knitting books, just outside the conservatory. This is a knitting machine I found for £1. More on that later. I've saved the best for last. Not best. I've saved something you're not going to expect for last. Do you remember how I was saying I'm an adult? Get ready for this. Ah. I just had to. Eva. I just had to get this. So we were watching this car video and I was a bit tipsy and I'm like, I'm going to get this from my craft room when it's finished. And Stephen thought I was joking. I was not joking. That table I found in the garage in this house and I hate it. Hello. I kind of feel like I've drifted over the decorating part a lot. It took a long time and I've just kind of skimmed past it. But yeah, that's what decorating is, isn't it? Especially when it's like exactly the same colour. But I must say my favourite part of the room is this area because the pink and green, it's like, it just makes my eyes happy, that colour combination, like that colour exactly. I just love it. Alright, thank you for watching and I'll say it, please like and subscribe. And I'll knit you later. Bye. Poop.